All right, everyone, thank you for joining in. I know I'm a new face to a lot of you, but my name is Alex, and I am a mental performance coach. I am Elite Mental Performance. I'm certified through the Association of Applied Sports Psychology. I have a master's degree in performance psychology. And of course, being a former goalkeeper, I was a goalkeeper coach at UNC Charlotte, at Charlotte Soccer Academy with the youth players as well, for about 6 years with them, and obviously played it myself and went to Creighton University. So now I work with athletes on performance through the mind. And one of those areas that we're going to go over today is confidence. Now, we'll start off with this. I don't know any of you. I don't know your kids. Confidence is a big, broad term, and how it applies to them and your experiences is very different. I don't know your history or their history. I don't really know the family dynamic that you're going in with. So everything that I am supplying here are a little bit more broad concepts. And the goal here is for you to be able to take something away, start to reflect on how is that going to apply to me, my son or daughter, and how that applies within family dynamic. And then what can we do about this moving forward, even if it's just making some small micro adjustments, whether that's at the dinner table or in the car ride, or just helping them work through something. That's the goal here today. If any of you just come away with a little bit of that information on where to go forward. Otherwise, I'm not saying that there is this formula for creating confidence, because it all comes in a little bit different shapes and sizes, but we can get the foundation rolling here. So let's start with an exercise. This doesn't have to be one where you're participating. I'm not going to ask you to throw anything in the chat. But I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to kind of look through this here and just open up some thoughts in your own mind. Think about, what is confidence? Is it a confident thought that I'm having, or is it a feeling that I have? Do I feel confident? Am I making a confident action? And how do you evaluate that? Do you just put it on a scale of belief from 1 to 10? And then what if you're not 100% confident? Well, if you're not 100% confident 100% of the time, is that even something that you should be? Is this all gone if you're not confident? And then we start to think, well, what's the opposite of confidence? Doubt. Okay. Well, what causes you doubt yourself? We're all human beings. We all experience it to an extent. So getting familiar with doubt is actually going to help you understand confidence a little bit more. And then there's this subtle little one here that a lot of athletes also struggle with, which is there a difference between being confident in yourself, being confident in the outcome, right? Like, maybe I'm confident I can do well, but I know I can do it. I just don't know if I will do it. So you can see how complex this big, broad term of confidence can be. And knowing this, it takes a little bit of investigation when I work with athletes on it, but it's a lot of fun nonetheless. So we're going to go over what confidence is. We're going to understand where it comes from, how the athlete builds it, and then, as you as parents, what you guys can do to help support the growth. So obviously, we're talking a little bit about the psychological part of things, but this helps influence everything. We're able to physically act more confidently. We're able to trust our technical and tactical skills. And then, of course, it just helps us with connecting with our teammates a little bit more and really helping give some positive energy to them. So even though it's psychological, it taps into all sorts. So let's dive in. All right, what is confidence? Well, simply put, it's this fundamental belief that a behavior, otherwise known as an action, can be accomplished. Right? I'm confident that I can make a standard catch. I'm confident that I can go one-on-one with this player. And so if it's a belief, does that mean that it's a choice? Can I just choose to be confident? Or do I have to learn this thing called confidence? So we've heard this before. I was actually working with a goalkeeper, back a couple of years ago, and I was like, so what gives you confidence? How do you build it? And he says, before every game, I like to get in 50 catches, 50 front smothers, 50 dives right, 50 dives to left, before every game. And this was the day before. I'm like, well, that's a lot of work. Sounds pretty physically taxing. Are you sure you want to do that? He was like, I can't tell you just how much it helps my confidence, because there comes confidence from preparation. I'm like, all right, that's awesome. Okay, I appreciate that. That's really cool. Flip that over, though. I had another goalkeeper who's done something that they've never done before. They were actually playing in an NCAA tournament game. And even though they've been in games before, they've been a goalkeeper before, they have all of that evidence, this experience was new. And so it's something that they were like, well, I know that I can, I don't know if I will. And I was like, well, why not? Why not you? Why not today? Why not tomorrow? Like, what is it about this game that has to be so new? And so we started to understand that there was a choice of how he was actually going to go about that tournament game. So we can start to see how a little bit complex it is, but we're starting to break it down a little bit more. Before we break it down any further and get into that whole belief versus earned concept, let's just debunk some of these myths right here, right now. It's not about being better than anyone else. That's not what confidence is about. Again, it's about me being able to accomplish a behavior or you being able to do a task. You don't get this through achievements. And trust me, I work with a lot of athletes that are in the college and professional level. And even though they're at those levels, they still doubt themselves. They've achieved a lot, but they still experience doubt. In fact, sometimes more achievements can cause more doubt. They doubt, am I able to continue to achieve? Am I able to continue going about this? So it can still show up there. It's also not about your talent. This is a dangerous trap because, as I'm sure you're probably aware, the higher the level you go, the more talented the rest of the players are around you. And so if we've been drawing confidence from how fast we are, how strong we are, how tall we are, well, as soon as I get put into an environment that shows me that that is not something that is a standout, where am I going to draw confidence then? So now I'm in a trap. We also have been told that, well, if you just speak confidently to yourself, you look yourself in the mirror and just say, okay, like, you know, I'm a dog, I'm an animal, right? I'm a beast, then somehow over time, this is going to work. And while this may give you a little 1%, 5% feeling of, yeah, I can get over that edge, it's not the thing that's really going to develop this whole substantial understanding of your self-confidence in you. So we can't just speak ourselves into it with affirmations. And the last one, it's actually not something you need to perform well. This is a big trap that a lot of athletes fall into. They have this understanding that I have to feel a certain way in order to perform. While feeling confident may be phenomenal, and it's definitely helpful, and if we can work into that confident state, we're going to do it. Trust me, I'm not disregarding. But here's the deal. If you don't feel confident, you can know that not all hope is lost. You don't need it. You can still resort to some fallbacks here. And we're going to get into that in a second. All right, so going back to this whole breakdown here, belief versus trust, right? So this is the two layers of confidence. Trust. We're watching my hands. Maybe you can see me. If not, no worries. But think about a timeline here. From the moment that you're standing in this absolute present moment, all of the repetitions that you've done in the past, whether it's catching a soccer ball or whether it's playing games, you've done this 1,000 times before, therefore you have reason to believe you can do it again. This is one of the most fundamental ways of being able to build confidence because it's really hard to argue that. Right? This is where we understand that if I've done that before, it is easy for me to believe I can do it now. But with that trust element, there's two parts to it. Well, I can do the 1,000,000 catches, but what if I don't trust myself to be able to handle big moments? What if I don't trust myself to be able to bounce back from an injury? What if I don't trust myself to have that uncomfortable conversation with a coach or to perform in front of a scout? Right now, this is where it gets a little bit different. So we can build confidence and skills. Ultimately, if we build confidence in ourselves, we're going to be doing ourselves a much better service as an athlete. Now, what if we don't have that trust? What if we don't have the repetition? Let's say you haven't gotten much playing time. You've been riding the bench for almost a year now. You've been the backup goalkeeper. This happens a lot in college. And this is what most youth goalkeepers are going to experience at some point in their life. So now we don't really have any recent evidence to suggest that I have what it takes to be here. The last game I played was in high school, and now I'm a junior in college, and this is my first game. So there is a choice that we can have when we don't have that evidence, and is to say, well, why do I have to doubt this? Why do I have to doubt myself right now? Just because I haven't had several games doesn't mean I can't make it happen now. We've all seen examples of this before in our past. Think about Thomas Edison. Well, he had 1,000 reasons not to believe that he was going to make the light bulb. He failed at it thousands of times. That's like 2 years of not playing. But he still chose to give it another shot, still chose to do it again, right? He chooses to believe in himself, even if his evidence doesn't show that it's really working. Same thing with Sir Roger Bannister, the guy who broke the 4-minute mile. So many people didn't believe it was possible. They thought that it was physically impossible to be able to do this. But he was resistant to that. And he tried time and time again, failed and failed and failed, came 2 seconds short, 5 seconds short. All the evidence in his past suggests that, hey, it's not possible. You can't do this. Of course, he experienced some doubt. But he still chose to say, you know what, all it takes is just one person to be crazy enough to say that it can be done. We saw this with Steve Jobs. We see this with a lot of different athletes and entrepreneurs, business people, innovators, creators. It only takes one person with one crazy thought. And if we surround ourselves with that evidence, then we can also understand that we can actually choose to believe that whatever happens for us in the future, we can do, even if we don't have evidence from the past. So all that to be said, these are our 2 layers. If we can build that trust in our skills and build that trust in ourselves as people, wonderful. And if for some reason we're about to go and do something we've never done before, guess what? It's still a choice that we can choose to say, I believe I can do this. So now, there's supposed to be a video here, but let me do this. Oh, here it is. Awesome. Let's watch confidence in action.
I'll be fine.
Come on.
I'll do it. Well, here goes something, I guess. No, I can do this. I'm gonna jump.
You got it.
Whoa, my ski's slipping off.
Remember, never snowplow, okay?
No snow plows.
Keep it straight, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Keep going this one.
Great. Do you go faster on the in run?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Is it any steeper, do you think? Not much?
Same steepness, it's longer.
Oh, just longer. Just longer. Just a bigger 20, that's all.
Yep. Have
Just a
fun.
bigger 20. Go ahead. You got it. I got it. Okay. Here. How long will you wait for my stay? Go. That's at the top of the first time for down. That's the only thing. So fun. Huh? 60 seems like nothing now.
All right. So I get a kick out of this every time I see it. And if we listen to this girl, I believe she's 8 years old. She may be 8 to 10, somewhere around there. You can hear her working through her mind. She doesn't know this, but she's doing it. And the coach behind her hasn't really told her, hey, you can do this. We're actually listening to her do this. And this is incredibly powerful. We can hear these words, I got this. She was nervous, probably a little afraid, making sense of it all. It's just 20 feet more, maybe looking around the scenery, see how high up she was. She's taking all of this in. But this moment, right before she goes, this is where confidence is its most open to be trained. It's not trained in front of a mirror, but it's trained right before and during and right after we go into what we're doing. So that brings us to this. How do we train it? Well, there's 2 parts. Confidence comes from how we talk to and about ourselves before, during, and after that moment. Now, the key part to this is the moment has to be one of pressure, stress, discomfort, and challenge. There's no way around it. There's only one way through it. We cannot fake this type of training. It's earned. You get to earn the self-talk that you have. You get to earn the right to tell yourself that you can do something because you've had to go through something before and you've had to tell yourself that you got it. But if you do that, like I said, in front of a mirror, or you're just, writing it down, these are good. They're fine for now. But ultimately, if we really want to create those strong neural pathways in our mind that say, you're confident, you got this, believe in yourself, it has to be done when there's tension involved. And so we need to invoke that doubt and fear in order for it to happen. And real quick, before I move on, if any of you have ever heard fake it till you make it, or told someone to fake it till they make it, that doesn't work. It's not substantial. And I tell you why. I can walk into a field and I can look around at my teammates and I can have the tall posture, shoulders back, and I can speak confidently, eloquently, speak with conviction, act like I got everything sorted and figured out. I can fake it for them. That's fine. That works. I don't want my team to see me feeling doubt. I don't want to bring doubtful energy to them. That's actually quite a nice thing for me to do. And I also don't want my opponents to look at me and think that I'm, a shell of myself. But deep down inside, if I truly have this doubt and I have this fear, and I'm lying to myself about it, I'm not afraid, I'm not doubtful, I'm confident, I'm good. But if you really feel that doubt and fear, you can't fake that to yourself. And it's really about being honest with yourself and saying, yeah, okay, I'm feeling a little bit of doubt right now, feeling a little bit of fear. I got to own up to this. But that's not the problem. That's a normal human expression. We're all going to go through this. In fact, if I don't feel doubt to any degree, then I'm not in the right environment. It's not challenging enough. Actually, Tim Howard, in his, I think it was when he retired, he was talking about when he was going out against Belgium, he had 16 saves in the World Cup knockout round against Belgium. We ended up losing still. But he said specifically, when I was in that tunnel, I was having those thoughtful moments of doubt. I was thinking, what if I make a mistake here? What if I fail? My family's watching, country is watching. What if I don't perform well? He felt that coming about. So it's not whether we feel the doubt or not, it's about what we do with it. So if we can recognize it and say, okay, I'm experiencing a little bit of doubt right now, what am I going to go do about it? And so that brings us to, we have to speak to what we are capable of that feels true to us. So when we've gone into this difficult or challenging situation, now it's about saying, okay, I'm good here. All right, I'm feeling a little bit of doubt, right? But I'm good here. I got this, right? Okay, I'm feeling a little bit of fear here, right? But there's no challenge I can't take, right? I can do this, right? There's nothing I can't handle here, right? I'm made for this. And so it's about being able to understand that the doubt that I'm feeling that is present is the process in order for me to go through this and build confidence. And now I just got to reinforce, okay, right? I may not be feeling my best, but I can still play my best, right? And this is this dynamic working of the mind. So encouraging our athletes, hey, you're afraid to speak out in public, right? You're afraid to raise your hand in class because you feel like that answer may not be right or someone's going to laugh at you, right? The fact of you just going, you know what, just do it anyway, right? Be a great answer. Boom, right? Answer it. Training in poor field and weather conditions. Holy moly, what this does for your confidence is wild. It's amazing. I encourage it all the time. When we have trainings canceled due to rain, it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit from a psychological standpoint. I understand the safety aspect of things, and I don't want anyone to put themselves at risk. Don't get me wrong. But there are plenty of times where I'm like, this is still trainable conditions, and we're actually robbing a lot of athletes of the opportunity to get uncomfortable right now, and they need this. Maybe it's asking a tough question to your coach. What can I do to get more playing time? You may feel a little bit nervous going up and doing it. Great, good, do it, go do it. Don't allow, or don't stop them from being able to do that themselves. Don't rob them of this opportunity so that they can go ahead and practice building their confidence. And now, what can we do without it? Okay, maybe the doubt is way overwhelming. That's fine, no problem. It's maybe a fear thing, a fear of failure. Okay, well, the act of being courageous is where we embrace the fear. We go through it anyway. It's the same thing if I were to be afraid of a spider, right? But I still put my hand down and I let it crawl up my arm, right? It's an act of courage. It doesn't mean I'm fearless. I still have fear, but I do it anyway. This is where I'm doing what's called top-down training. I'm overriding this very primitive emotional center of my mind, and I'm telling myself to perform an action regardless of it. And the more you can actually go through that with that courage and embrace it, you actually become more confident over time. This is what creates a more confident individual. Then the other element to this is a little bit more playful in nature. It could be curiosity. This is the thing that, the 4-year-olds to 10-year-olds are experiencing. We're thinking that, John over there who shoots the ball from half field, he's got no business shooting from half field, right? But he does it without a split segment doubt. Well, it's because he's curious. It's like, let's see if I can make this. Let's see if I can hit the shot. See if I can go ahead and go about this. And so, to an extent, that still exists within the adult population. And when we start to get older, we can still tap into this little younger version of ours and say, all right, well, I may never done this before, but here goes nothing. Right? I still got it. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna see what I can do here. Be a little bit explorative with that, or explorative, I should say. So I typically, personally, for me, what works, I lean on courage a lot. Sometimes I lean on curiosity, right? I've definitely done that before, especially recently. And helping show these with our athletes is one where they can understand that no doubt or no confidence, no problem. We got courage, we got curiosity. Now, what do I expect for you guys to be able to do with all of this? Well, really, nothing completely concrete when it comes down to creating this little formula, if you will. But this just helps with understanding that, okay, if my son or daughter is not really confident themselves right now, right, how can I help encourage them? And so if you guys have that dynamic where you can speak to each other very well, and you can articulate things, maybe have a good bond, maybe it happens more or less with their partner versus you, and they have that connection with them, to be able to say, hey, we have a very playful kid, right? They're very playful. They love to explore things. They're always climbing up, the chimney or whatever. They're always doing something that kind of winds us up as parents, but maybe we can use this curiosity to good. And if they're going to a game, they're not really confident in themselves, maybe we help them out with saying, hey, you know what? Just go out there and see what can happen. Like, you think you can get a shot on goal today? Or that would be for a forward, not for a goalkeeper, but hey, you might get a clean sheet today, right? You might be able to get a 1v1 today. You might be able to stop it, right? Go see if it happens, right? Maybe it's embracing the moment with that courage, saying, all right, it's normal to be afraid. Now, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to let that fear change us, or are we going to move through that fear? And however these conversations look like for you and your kids, I don't want to insert any words into your head. Just want to open the door to what that may look like. But let's dive a little bit deeper into what parents can do to help support confidence. First one here, be curious, ask questions. Don't assume right away that when the kid is expressing any doubt or fear that immediately they're not confident. There's so much that goes into it. Okay, well, can you tell me why you're not feeling your best? Can you tell me why you're doubting yourself? Oh, well, coach said he was going to pull me out of the game if I concede a goal. Just give an example here, right? John, our other goalkeeper, has been doing really well in practice, and I'm worried that he's going to be able to take my position. Okay, thank you for sharing. Why are you worried about John taking your position? And so worry is actually a sign of fear. It's not really a sign of doubt or confidence. So courage here is actually a thing we lean into. And what are some of the thoughts that you're having? And how is this challenging your focus? How can I help you as a parent with this? The more curious you are, the more we ask questions, the more open and expressive they can be. Now, again, I know that athletes also range on a different age group. When they start to enter their teenage years, apparently, they forget to talk to their parents at all, right? For the most part. If you have a teenager and you have really open dynamic conversations, write a book, please. A lot of parents I know can really help with that. And I'm sure I'm going to be experiencing that one day whenever my kids become teenagers. And that's probably part of the process. So every situation is a little dynamic like that. Number two, though, this one's very important, especially when it comes down to the car ride to and the car ride from the games, right? Making sure that we're praising the process, not the player nor the performance. So even if I'm around someone else, we're having a conversation, and my son's right over here, and I'm getting really happy and say like, yeah, my son's the #1 goalkeeper in the state, right? I, as a player right there, what I understood was, okay, there's a really good energy that comes with that. And that's awesome. And so now what happens when I'm not #1 in the state? Where do I get this energy from? What happened there? I was feeling really good about myself earlier, right? My mom was talking about how good I was at #1 in the state. I'm no longer #1 in the state. Now, where am I? And so this is kind of a trap that can fall into. You're so awesome. You're so special. These are these adjectives that as soon as their performance drops, they're not going to feel awesome, not going to feel special. Their confidence is going to go away. But if they are praised by their process, then what they're going to start to attach to is that they have some form of control. They actually have some form of power. And that could be even after they made a mistake. So instead of saying, you're so good at 1v1s, it's like, you know what, that was really cool to see how brave you were coming off the line like that for that 1v1. You're praising the process of what led into that save. Bravery is now the reward instead of the save, instead of the outcome. And this is why this middle ground of performance is a little bit contextual, right? It doesn't sound too bad to say that breakaway save was incredible, right? That's wonderful. That's a great compliment for them. And yeah, it's not entirely wrong, right? It's contextual in a way. But if all we do is praise the performance and there's no connection to the process that led to that, well, guess what's going to happen when they have a bad day? Guess what's going to happen when they inevitably will make a mistake? The performance is no longer there. So where do I draw my confidence from? If it wasn't reinforced through the process, then what am I left with? And so this is why we say it's not done through achievements. It's not developed that way. It's developed through actions that we take in the face of something. Let's say one of our goalkeepers gets megged. Ball goes right through their legs into the goal. They're not going to be feeling great about themselves. They should experience doubt. Sure. Hey, John, I really admired how you carried yourself after you got scored on there. I'm sure that was probably really tough, but like you handled it very well, right? And maybe they're like, I didn't feel very well. Hey, yeah, I don't blame you. That's okay. That's good, right? But I love how you kept communicating with your team. And I love how sharp you still worked your passes there. That was really cool to see how you were able to refocus and do that again. It's reinforcing this power that they have over making a mistake, over the process, over what they can achieve. And so this is a very powerful way of being able to communicate and articulate things with our kids as they grow up. Because then as that gets reinforced over time, then they always feel like they have some free will. They always feel like they have some power because the process is something that they can 100% control. So lastly, we would like to encourage them to face challenging moments and reinforce their capabilities. Instead of going to their coach and asking about playing time, have the kid go do it. Ask him, even if it's young, even at a young age, just, it's okay. You got this, right? You can do this. Do your best. And hopefully the coach works well, right? Again, there's so many dynamics at play here. And parents, you guys are just a piece of this equation, right? The coaches and the teammates, they all have their own piece of the equation too. So understand we're working at a very dynamic environment that they're in. But if we can find more moments that we can allow them to go and fear and challenge instead of remove that by inserting ourselves and taking that away from them, then that's where they're going to be able to develop this sense of confidence. They're going to be able to feel like they have some power over themselves. Now, lastly, don't teach, model. What do I mean by this? Well, if we're telling our 10-year-old or 14-year-old, hey, you got to speak more confidently about yourself before you go into this game, right? Here's how you're going to help work yourself into confidence here. You got to think blah, 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 blah. And you got to do this and this. Automatically, the doors are getting shut. We are all products of our environment, especially the youth. They're very good at implicit learning. All they're doing is they're taking in the surrounding information and they're actually creating little programs in their head that are going to be automatic. They're going to guide their actions. And so if we're at the dinner table and my significant other tells me, like, hey, how you feeling about that presentation that you're going to give to United Goalkeeping Alliance? And maybe I'm feeling a little bit of doubt. I got my kids right there. And so I'm honest with her and I say, you know what? I'm not sure how this is going to go. I don't really give many presentations. My work involves more listening than it does speaking. But I feel like I know the information well enough. Right? I've been doing this long enough with athletes on a one-on-one level. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna give it my best shot and see what comes out of it. And so right there, the implicit learning that just happened was the kids had just seen that I was experiencing some form of doubt, but I still chose to go through with it and believe in myself and say it's all gonna work out. And this could be done with other people that aren't even at the table. The table is just a metaphor here, right? You know, Lisa, who is at work, was giving this, you know, really strong talk to us today. And, you know, I could tell that she was nervous. I could see her fidgeting. What was really cool was I saw her take a really long, deep breath. She closed her eyes for a second. She centered herself, and then she went right back at it. She had this moment of pause, and I really admire how she was able to handle that. That was so cool. And so now it's like, okay, well, it's not whether or not I get shaky, nervous. It's about what I do in that moment. I recenter, I breathe, I close my eyes. And now the kid's probably going to try to do that somehow, some way. And this is how they learn. They learn that through their friends. They learn that through their coaches by demonstration. They learn that through the media that they watch and the social media that they see. Are we praising, like, I'm him, I'm that guy, right? Well, what happens when the sport kicks you in your rear and you're no longer him? Then who are you? More so, I can be the guy, right? The capability of what I can do. I can rebound back. And this is where they're creatures of their environment. They adapt to their environment, and it is such a complex way in which they all get woven together. But ultimately, what we like to encourage parents and coaches as well, you know, your words are going to become their thoughts, and your actions today become their actions tomorrow. And it may not even show up for years, actually. It's just a saying that their actions are tomorrow, right? But it may be actions that they bring in now that don't show up until later. In some cases, we can kind of maybe see where that came from. In some cases, it's kind of confusing. Like I said, it's highly complex, but these are some wonderful ways in which we can help athletes. If we ask questions and we're just curious about it, then we're helping them explore their doubt. We're helping, and when they get more familiar with that, we call this running a scouting report on your inner opponent. It's like a kid who's afraid to fall asleep at night because there's a monster in the closet. There is no monster in the closet. And when you get up and you go explore and you open the closet, you realize there's no one there. It's fearful at times. You shut the door, but then you feel good. You're going back to bed. You're going to sleep. So when we ask questions, we get them to explore their doubt a little bit more. We get them to become more in tune with it, be more mindful of it, start to become less scared. And then when they realize that they can work through it, then they start to reinforce their capabilities. And so we reinforce the process, not the player, not the performance, but the actions that it took for all of this to happen, encouraging them to go get uncomfortable, and then just model these behaviors as much as we possibly can. So recapping overall, and then we're open for questions. Confidence is this belief that we have in ourselves. And then we can't fake this. It's got to be earned, and it's got to be honest. It's built under tension, so it's not going to be comfortable. There's no way around it. There's only one way through it. And it's about how are we going to speak to and about ourselves before, during, and after these challenging moments. And then we don't need to perform well. It's very helpful, trust me. But we can still act without it. If we don't have it, we just leverage a little bit of curiosity or courage. And then parents, we can help by praising this process, reinforcing our athletes' capabilities, and encouraging them to get uncomfortable. So I am wide open for questions now. Actually, this, and then I'll go back to there. All right, let's see. I'm looking into the chat feature real quick.
I can help you there, Coach. There's everything in there are based on questions I've asked. No comments, questions, or stories in there at this moment.
Okay, cool. It's funny because I saw 24 comments and I was like, man, we got like 24 questions. This is gonna be a long one. It's good. But if anyone does have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. I can answer them right now. And while you're typing in those questions into the chat, for those of you that want a little bit more information on me or anything that can help your athletes with reinforcing the message, you know, they can follow my Instagram account. I try to post regularly. I'm not a big fan of social media as a whole for a variety of reasons. So I stay off of it personally as much as I possibly can, but I know that can be highly influential. So I will be posting on it every once in a while. It's elite_mental performance. If one of your athletes, your son or daughter, or maybe someone that you know would like a little bit more mental training on how they can improve their confidence, their focus, or composure under pressure, anything that involves the psychological skills of the game, you're more than welcome to set up a consultation with me and reach out. You can visit my website. It's elitementalperformance.net, not .com, just to make sure that's clear. I know it's very easy like .com, but .net. Or you can just shoot me an email, and it's alex@elitementalperformance.net. So please connect. Let me know how else I can help, even if it's providing some information for you, and happy to do everything I can to point you in the right direction.
Coach, I have a question in the chat that came directly to me. Question is, my
Sure.
son has been the only GK for several years, and there is now a second goalkeeper. And for some reason, the fear of losing his starting role has taken a hit on his confidence. Any advice?
Yeah. Yes. Great question. Man, that was probably the greatest gift that I had. Was I was never the only goalkeeper on my team. I always had another goalkeeper. I always had to fight and earn the position. And it's one where I know the benefits and cons to both being the only goalkeeper and not being the only goalkeeper. But in this situation, only goalkeeper for 7 years. Yeah, so the environment has changed. The environment is new. And therefore, how are we going to be able to rely on the trust that we've built over time when is this that I've built over time good enough now? And so now we got to reinforce this belief mechanism. And there may be fear involved where they're worried about losing my position. So now we got to leverage courage a little bit and start to help the athlete with leaning into how am I going to approach this? And I would start off with asking questions about it. And this is a very, I would actually want more context if I were truly getting into the weeds of this, but just from the information I have right now, ask questions like, okay, what would happen if you did lose your starting position? Well, I'm not going to feel great about myself. Okay, that's normal. Yeah, I can understand that. What would you do? How would you react to that? And then really start to see what are the actions that they're going to take, even if they lose their starting position. And this is something that when we talk about courage and embracing fear, there's like a 3-step process of this what if thought. What if I lose my position? The what if is a thought stem that triggers anxiety. And there's one process I like to lean on, which is go all the way to the end of the ultimate extreme and then recognize, can you handle that? And when you get to the very end of that and you recognize I can handle that, and then it's like, okay, so do we really have anything to worry about? And then we come back to now. It's like, no, okay, so we can actually really dive in, take a look at that monster in the closet and say, okay, lose your starting position, then what? I'm gonna start training more. Okay, awesome. How much are you gonna train? What are you gonna do differently? I'm gonna work with my coach 30 minutes a week, twice a week. Okay, I'm gonna do extra distribution 15 minutes after every training. Great, awesome. And then what happens if, like, what happens after that? Well, hopefully I get my position back and it works. And okay, yeah, that'd be great. Is there a possibility that that doesn't happen? Well, yeah. Okay, and then what are you gonna do with that? Well, I'm gonna start asking the coach then. So you can see where we're going here. Not entirely like a textbook answer of there's this formula, but I would investigate the fear of it and just go to what are we going to do, come back to action, and that can really help. And then take it day by day as well. I would say create some process goals, create some performance goals on training and games that he wants to accomplish for him. And really just focusing on what are the parts of your game that matter most to you. Is it cleaning up your catch? Is it extending your dives? Is it braver in your 1v1s? And really just channeling the focus more into my process, my control, and opening the door to whatever outcome happens after that. So that's another strategy as well. So I got those two for you. But
Coach, good stuff. Listen, I have 3 questions here for you. I'm going to shoot them all at you at the same time and let you go through them. 2 of them are very similar. And the other one is we have around 7 minutes, just an FYI. So here we go. In situation game self-talk, do you have guidance to give? A simple phrase or anchor that will center a GK and let them reset, maybe recover after a mistake or to calm them down after a glorious save. Second question, GK's son lost a brutally tough game 2 weeks ago, kept chin up during and throughout the game, had a bye week this week, and is now exhibiting some doubt going into another tough game next week. Any words of advice? Third and final question, thoughts on visualization.
we can't hear you anymore.
Oh, can you hear me now? Are you my hair down or no? Am I there?
Yeah, I got you. You came back.
Did you hear this
I don't know
whole
if that was
second
me or you,
question?
but no, I got all of them. I can actually.
And then
Yeah, I got it now. I got the whole second question.
what about
So,
the third
first
question was
question,
around visualization, Alex. Did you hear that one?
Perfect. Got
Okay.
it. I did, yeah. So I got all 3. I'll address them one at a time. Self-talk and visualization. There is no one phrase or one word that I or you can give anyone else that will work. They have to find it on their own, and it's going to be what works for them. And the way that they can explore this is through examples that they've seen before, either by other athletes or speeches, actors, movies, song lyrics, quotes, things that really help them connect to, yeah, I got this, I'm good. And so when you explore that, and this is what we call an epic thought list, we actually write down all of these negative, doubtful thoughts over here, and then we address them. Are these fully true? Are these 100% true to everybody? Most often in cases, they're not. And if they are, then we say, well, is this way of thinking helpful? Chances are it's not. Okay, so what is a helpful way of thinking? We start listing every single epic thought that we can come up with. We brain dump it on paper. And then it's about narrowing down, okay, what rings most true to you? What feels right to you? So for me, it's man in the arena. There's a speech that was made by John, was it John Kennedy? Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, 1910. And so when I hear the words man in the arena, that just locks me in. I'm good to go. For some people, it could be like Rocky Balboa. It ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That may be a thing. And so whatever it is that they identify with that really means most to them to help ground them and be good in that moment, then that's where that self-talk phrase is unique to them. GK's son lost a brutally tough game 2 weeks ago, kept chin up throughout the game, had a bye week this week, and now exhibiting some doubt going into another tough game this week. Words of advice. All right. Yeah. We can lean into that as a framing opportunity. Is this another game? Is this just another soccer game? The square or the field is rectangular, the ball is round, and the game stays the same? And just go about the game as you normally would? Or is this a big game? Is this a big moment? And it may be a championship game, maybe a tough opponent. How is it that you want to see it that really helps you? So when the athlete is, there's no right or wrong way of doing that. We hear both sides of it all the time. Just treat it like it's a normal practice or a normal game. Coaches say it all the time. That might work for some, it might not work for others. Others like to level themselves up to the big moment and say, I can't really hide from the fact that this team is #1 in the country. I can't hide from the fact that it's a championship game. The consequences are higher here. So, okay, then how are you going to level yourself up to that? Are you made for the big moments? Or is this something that you're willing to take on? Is there a challenge? Is this a challenge you don't want to face? And when we start to ask them questions like, is this a challenge you don't want to face? Chances are they're probably going to say, no, I want to face this. Okay. And so it's more about, like, again, the bravery, courage of just going and face the challenge. Right? It doesn't matter how we really feel about ourselves. In it, we had a bad game, I get it. But we can, always use this reference that every moment is a new moment, right? No matter what, including this one that we're in right now. This has never happened before. And when we treat every moment like it's a new moment, we can actually understand that it's a reset of every kind. So that one will be a little bit trickier if they don't quite resonate with that. But there's the framing of, is this just another game? Right? Can we just treat it like it's another game? Or is this a big game? Okay. And then are you going to be, you want to be the big time player and love yourself, fuck it after? Is there a challenge I can't take here? So that's what comes to my head right away. These are very good questions, and it's hard to quite articulate these things without a little bit deeper understanding of the age, the level of play, family dynamics, all that good stuff. But I'm hoping that this is ringing true and helpful. Thoughts on visualization? Yeah, wonderfully powerful if they've trained it. Mental skills, self-talk, breathing, mindfulness, visualization, none of them are going to work the first time you do them. And this is when we hear, hey, just take a deep breath and relax. You're not going to get a relaxation response. You haven't trained the top-down processing from the brain to the central nervous system to engage the relaxation center. And so when we want to do visualization or do mindfulness, it's a structured practice, and it actually requires more than just seeing it. It requires being able to recruit more senses, especially the sense of touch, how we feel the ball come off our foot or how we feel it hit our hands, the sound it makes when it leaves our foot. These are all things that go into a really deep process of visualization. And you'd want to do it consistently. I would recommend 5 minutes a day before bed or upon waking up or in the shower. But really trying to do it in a place where you're distraction free, and it's something that is engaged with consistently, because just like any other skill, it's not going to be good until you do it over time. And that's where a lot of athletes get frustrated, because they try visualization, try mindfulness, they try breathing. How long do you try it for? A few times. Yeah, no wonder it's not going to work. So great process. It helps with strengthening the myelin around the neural pathways that connect from the brain to the muscles. So from a skill execution standpoint, it actually trains more repetitions instead of just the physical reps. So it enhances the motor skill you need, as well as enhancing confidence. That's a big point. We call this making a highlight reel in your head and seeing these wonderful saves that you played. Sometimes we actually have athletes who find a highlight reel that they've already made or someone's made for them of previous games, and they watch that before they go into a game. That helps with their confidence, psych them up a little bit. So it has its effects in a lot of ways, but it's got to be done consistently. And then next one here, at a young age, 8 to 10, where goalkeepers not commonly a priority in training and development, how do parents support confidence growth for field play and not GK integration play as priority until game day? Yeah, model as much as possible, just being able to, open the door, be curious, no expectations, right? No one's expecting you to do well. All right, you don't really have a priority in training for goalkeepers here. So if you get scored on, no one's going to fault you. Just go see how good you do. See how many saves you can make today, right? Just give your best, no matter what happens. And like, see what kind of save you can make today. Like, see how many shots you can catch. I maybe make a little bit more of a game for a young goalkeeper. And I don't know how creative they are. If they're a creative individual, we can use animals or symbols to connect with. If they are all about the lion, right? It's like, just go be a lion and go see what happens when you're a lion, right? Go see what I was working with a 12-year-old actually and a goalkeeper, and we used the turtle. In a way, it was a weird thing. After he got scored on, he was like, I want to go into my space, almost like a turtle goes into a shell, and I feel good there. It's like, okay. Now he didn't physically represent the turtle shell, right? But in his own mind, he was like, okay, I'm a turtle. And he kept telling himself that I'm a turtle. And he was in his own world when he said that. And so if you're creative and you're able to do that, then that could be very helpful too. So using animals, using symbols, being curious, creating a little game out of a game for it, and just saying no one's expecting you to do anything, you don't really have training in this. It's okay. You're gonna get plenty of training down the road. In the meantime, see what happens. So that's where my mind goes with these. Great questions. They're really challenging for me, to be fair.
Alex, appreciate you. If you want to just have a two final words and we'll wrap up. Thank you.
Yeah. Being great comes before doing great. Again, process over outcomes, process over performance. Be great before doing great. And let the doing take care of itself after the being part. That's what I got to say.